Lecture 12. Multipolarity and Strategic Competition. 1. Introduction. The international order is shifting from U.S. led unipolarity toward a more complex and contested multipolar system. While the United States remains highly powerful, China, Russia, India, the European Union, and several middle powers now increasingly shape global politics. This transition involves the decline of uncontested American dominance, the rise of multiple power centers, and intensifying U.S.-China strategic competition. 2. Transition to multipolarity. Multipolarity means power is distributed among several major states or blocs, rather than dominated by one or two powers. Today's shift is driven by the rise of China, India, Southeast Asia, and the Global South, growing military competition, technological rivalry, and demands to reform Western-led institutions. It involves both power redistribution and a struggle over global rules. 3. Decline of unipolarity. The decline of unipolarity does not mean the collapse of American power. The United States still possesses major advantages, including the world's strongest military, a global alliance network, the dominant reserve currency, leading universities, advanced technology firms, deep capital markets, and powerful innovation ecosystems. However, its dominance is no longer uncontested. Several factors explain this shift. First, the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq showed the limits of military superiority. The United States could defeat armies, but it struggled to build stable political orders. Second, the 2008 global financial crisis weakened confidence in Western economic governance and increased interest in alternative development models. Third, domestic polarization has raised doubts about the consistency and reliability of U.S. global leadership. Fourth, China's rise has structurally changed the international system by creating a major economic, military, and technological competitor. Fifth, many states now pursue strategic autonomy, rather than fully aligning with Washington or Beijing. Thus, unipolarity is declining not because the United States is irrelevant, but because other actors can now resist, negotiate, balance, and shape global outcomes. 4. Decline of unipolarity. The decline of unipolarity does not mean the collapse of American power. The United States still possesses major advantages in the international system. It has the world's strongest military, an extensive global alliance network, the dominant reserve currency, leading universities, advanced technology firms, deep capital markets, and powerful innovation ecosystems. These strengths continue to make the United States a central actor in global politics. However, American dominance is no longer uncontested. Several factors explain this shift. First, the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq revealed the limits of military superiority. The United States could defeat conventional armies, but it struggled to build stable political orders after military victory. This showed that power is not only about military capability, but also about legitimacy, governance, and long-term political stability. Second, the 2008 global financial crisis weakened confidence in Western economic governance. Because the crisis began in the heart of the American financial system, it damaged the image of the U.S.-led liberal economic model and encouraged interest in alternative development models, including state-led capitalism. Third, domestic polarization has raised doubts about the consistency and reliability of U.S. global leadership. When foreign policy changes sharply across administrations, allies may continue to depend on the United States, but also worry about long-term commitments. Fourth, China's rise has structurally changed the international system. China is now a major economic, military, technological, and diplomatic competitor. It can challenge U.S. influence in trade, supply chains, technology, infrastructure, and regional security. Fifth, many states now pursue strategic autonomy. Countries such as India, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, Indonesia, and South Africa do not want to fully align with either Washington or Beijing. They seek flexible diplomacy and issue-based cooperation. Thus, unipolarity is declining, not because the United States has become irrelevant, but because other actors can now resist, negotiate, balance, and shape global outcomes. 4. Emergence of multiple power centers. The emerging multipolar order contains several power centers, but these centers do not possess the same kind of power. Some actors are military powers, others are economic powers, while others exercise influence through technology, regulation, energy, finance, or diplomacy. This makes the current international order more complex than a simple return to traditional great power politics. China is the most important rising power in this new structure. Its rapid economic transformation has made it central to global manufacturing, trade, infrastructure, investment, and technological competition. Through the Belt and Road Initiative, China has expanded its influence across Asia, Africa, Europe, the Middle East, and Latin America. Its military modernization has also changed the balance of power in the Indo-Pacific, especially around Taiwan and the South China Sea. China seeks not only economic growth, but also greater influence over international institutions and global norms. The European Union represents a different type of power center. It is not a unified military superpower like the United States, but it exercises strong economic and regulatory power. Through rules on data protection, digital markets, climate policy, competition law, consumer protection, and trade regulation, the EU shapes global standards. This influence is often called the Brussels effect, because companies outside Europe frequently adjust their practices to meet EU rules. India is also becoming increasingly important. It has the world's largest population, a growing economy, a strong technology and services sector, nuclear weapons, and a strategic location in the Indo-Pacific. India cooperates with the United States, Japan, and Australia through the Quad, but it also maintains strategic autonomy and relations with Russia and the global South. Its rise strengthens the multipolar character of world politics. Russia remains influential despite economic limitations. Its war against Ukraine has isolated it from much of the West. But Russia continues to affect global energy markets, nuclear politics, cyber operations, arms sales, and regional security. Japan and South Korea are also important power centers because of their advanced manufacturing, technology, finance, defense industries, and alliance roles. The Middle East is gaining strategic flexibility through energy resources, sovereign wealth funds, military capabilities, and regional diplomacy. At the same time, the Global South is demanding development finance, infrastructure, climate support, and greater representation in global governance. Therefore, the emerging order is not simply U.S. China bipolarity. It is a layered multipolar system in which many actors retain agency and shape global politics. FETS U.S. China strategic competition. The most important axis of contemporary strategic competition is the rivalry between the United States and China. This competition is not limited to military power. It includes economics, technology, trade, ideology, alliances, institutions, finance, supply chains, and global influence. The U.S.-China relationship is therefore marked by both deep interdependence and deep rivalry. Economically, the two countries were closely connected for decades through trade, investment, manufacturing, and finance. American companies benefited from China's low-cost manufacturing and large market, while China benefited from access to U.S. markets, technology, and capital. However, this interdependence is now increasingly viewed as a source of vulnerability. The United States argues that China's state-led economy, industrial subsidies, intellectual property practices, and market restrictions create unfair competition. China, in contrast, argues that the United States is trying to contain its rise through tariffs, export controls, investment restrictions, and technology alliances. Technology has become the central battlefield of this rivalry. Artificial intelligence, semiconductors, quantum computing, biotechnology, telecommunications, space systems, cyber capabilities, and advanced manufacturing are now strategic domains. The United States seeks to maintain control over key technological choke points, especially advanced semiconductors, chip design software, manufacturing equipment, cloud platforms, and AI ecosystems. China seeks technological self-reliance and aims to reduce dependence on U.S. and allied technologies. Military competition is most intense in the Indo-Pacific. Taiwan is the most dangerous flashpoint, while the South China Sea remains another major area of tension. China's missile systems, naval expansion, cyber capabilities, space programs, and anti-access strategies are designed to challenge U.S. military operations near China's coast. The United States responds by strengthening alliances with Japan, South Korea, Australia, the Philippines, and other regional partners. Finally, the two powers compete over ideas and institutions. The United States emphasizes a rules-based order, democracy, open markets, and individual freedoms. China emphasizes sovereignty, development, non-interference, and civilizational diversity. This competition is especially visible in the global South, where many countries seek investment, infrastructure, technology, and development finance, while avoiding full alignment with either side. Thus, U.S.-China competition is a multidimensional struggle over the future direction of global order.